Well, very good afternoon, everyone. Charles here again. Sorry to bore you with FRGNT Forex.com. I would say FRGNT daily chart analysis, but as you know, I'm very much still banned on TradingView. Let's see how long left we have of that ban. 23 days. Could it be 22? Nope, still 23 days, 14 hours, etc., etc. Nevertheless, you will see that I still post privately and at least attempt to send my analysis out to FRGNT Mastery and the FRGNT wider community. Now, where are we here and now, as I like to say? What's the date today? Wednesday the 25th of February 2026, just passing 5:15 here in Milan, and I've closed the trading day out. As you can hear from my voice, a bit annoyed. It has been a profitable day. Alerts are still going off here, there, and everywhere. But as I always say, full transparency. Let's get into it. So this morning, where were we? 11 hours ago. Let's talk about the trade that we took first and foremost. US dollar CAD. I believe that was the short position that I took today. Well, we can see, judging by the analysis, when was this? 11 hours ago, so it's pretty early in the morning. Nevertheless, I was forecasting a short position on the US dollar CAD, potentially down to the 4-hour 50 EMA, or depending on the setup, as you'll see shortly, it was the Asia range fill. So you can see prices in that higher time frame, 4-hour order block, failing to break above. More importantly, why it got me excited was daily 50 MA, previous daily candle. You see over here, bottom right hand chart, you see that previous daily candle rejected daily 50 MA and of course closed below it. And then we had sufficient range down to the 4-hour 50 MA, of which we were expecting. Good target. And then capped in that trading range, you can see, as I said previously, price was failing to break above. Wick imbalance from that weekly time frame as well. Simply price just capped at a high. So when it made sense to short that pair based on the setup, I for sure did. Now, nevertheless, I did put out a video this morning saying that the US dollar, the DXY, the dollar index, is most certainly key. And of course, I think I posted that twice for some reason. And nevertheless, just using how I explained, there is a YouTube video on that as well, just explaining how to use the confluence to really be sure that, right, now is the time to execute the position. So enough of the rabbiting on. Here is the position, US dollar CAD, pretty much in line with the forecast. I mean, I did foresee price to come a little bit higher, just using that DXY. Could there have been a little bit more strength to come out of the DXY before the rollover short? That's what I was forecasting. Nevertheless, as I say often, your forecast is one thing, your analysis is another, and what price wants to do is a completely different story. Simply remain dynamic and have a couple of plans in place. Okay, Charles, what if price doesn't actually come up to your order block? What if something is presented slightly earlier as a result of that break of structure? Can I locate where that break of structure potentially has come from? So, of course, as always, I'm working my way up the leg. But the reason why I went initially to select this order block is Asia range. Asia range for me is a fantastic guide in terms of liquidity above and below, hence why I trade the Asia range criteria. Nevertheless, I didn't really take this in line with Asia range, just because how Asia range criteria is, it's a very fixed and rigid criteria, of which simply requires a 1-minute break of structure once you're happy about the order block that you're using. And I didn't feel that today, based on where the DXY was, based on the fundamentals potentially coming out, not really being sure what the DXY had planned to do. It was the DXY going to continually reject the higher time frame 50 EMAs. Let me bring that to your attention here. So were we expecting the DXY to reject this daily 50 EMA? Of course I am. But is it going to reject it instantaneously upon the tap? Probably not. Can I then locate where the DXY would likely push up to? We've got previous weekly highs in and around there, showing that we have, as I've written, I always write this as a guide to myself, not only to FRGNT Mastery, but as a professional trader, you don't have to commit everything to memory. start annotating your charts and understanding constantly what is going on. So as you can see by the white GAN box, we are in a higher time frame order block on the DXY as well. So naturally, I'm looking for a rollover short on the DXY. But the question is, when is it going to come? The second question, is it going to happen at all? And then the third, if it is going to happen, where can I foresee that potentially price is going to genuinely turn around from? Just because you're at the chart and you're in a point of interest, as I always say, I'm sure you're bored of hearing it at this stage, it doesn't mean it's time to execute a trade. You have to locate the inefficiencies, locate your order blocks, forecast where price could go, and then based on that, come up with a setup and entry criteria and execute your position. Nevertheless, let me get to the good stuff. So I was pretty happy at the time of entry that the US dollar CAD was on its way to roll short. Of course, we had that snap in the market, order block selected in Asia. I didn't enter initially when, in terms of an Asia range position, my first position would have actually have been here. Now, because I wanted that confirmation, all this was, in my opinion, so that's the DXY initial move short. If we quickly head back to the DXY so you can see it in action. So the DXY rolling short is this position here. Now, in line with how I trade always, I'm not going to be the first in the position. But what I would be looking for if I'm going to trade that dollar index in terms of looking for the dollar index to then short, that's my confirmation. I've now had price come into an area of interest, albeit up at the highs, albeit may have missed by a pip. Nevertheless, we've had a reaction coming from this. The liquidity is in the market. It's showing me that in and around this area, Charles, is a point in the market where price is looking to roll short from. So I didn't jump in straight away there. If you compare that with US dollar CAD, and that would be not jumping in here. I waited. I reselected the order block and I said, right, if the DXY then pulls back up, giving me US dollar strength, I then know if I flip-flop back to the DXY, it's coming back to fill that imbalance. And then this is exactly how I took US dollar CAD, to be quite honest. I can keep it all on the same chart. And as you can see, the use of order blocks are, it's not just the fact we're in an order block, it's all of the confluence put together. It's recognizing that we're in the round, the daily 50 MA, looking to roll short. We've rejected it. We have the range down to the 4-hour 50 MA. As I've said, absolutely price is pushed up and we have made a high. However, if this is the higher low, then this should be the higher high. The reason why, or the higher high should be created, the reason why I felt that that is now the time to create, or rather set the trade as a result of that order block left behind. So there we go. If we flip straight back to US dollar CAD, order block left behind. What's my confluence for trading now? Right, is Asia still available? Yes, it is. Do I have sufficient range down to Asia, if not down to the 4-hour 50 MA? Absolutely, I do. Being more of a conservative, well, I'm more of an aggressive trader, but in terms of risk management, I'm very much so conservative. In terms of taking my money off the table, I'm very much so conservative. So if I have these two parallels in terms of fill Asia or the 4-hour 50 MA slightly below, I'm not giving away these profits in order to get an additional couple of percent there. I mean, additional percent maybe, let's say. So you see my thought process. So I'm building confluence on the DXY. I'm also building confluence on US dollar CAD. So when price came back up, there we go. We have it again. We have the order block left behind, just as we did on the DXY. At that stage, then I rolled down to the lower time frames. I'm not going to give away too much, but the entry was then caught on the lower time frames in and around those areas. Now, was it a good trade? I'd say so. I had an alert in and around these areas, and price was, again, when you are, or this is particularly me being transparent and personal, when I am less than a pip away from take profit and my alert goes off, I am closing that position out manually. I'm not waiting for the endorphins to kick in for me to say, oh, full take profit. No, I'm absolutely closing that position out, especially when I am above a 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. If this was only a 1 to 2, then unfortunately I'm having to let that roll down to the 4-hour 50 MA to make it make sense for my risk to reward ratio. So nevertheless, the price was called out and we took off 3%. So that's above 10% for the week, to be quite honest. The reason in which I must say that I'm quite annoyed is my GU short. So what did I do? pretty much rinse and repeat of what I did on US dollar CAD. However, I should have known a little bit better to understand that price may not be quite ready. But as you can see, if we flip flop between the charts, they're pretty much identical. So who am I to say, well, US dollar CAD's about to hit take profit? What if US dollar CAD hit take profit, pushed itself all the way back up? GU would have just respected the same type of setup to perfection, and I would have been laughing my way to the bank. However, it wasn't to be. When I entered GU, I was in that pretty. The entry would have been there on retest of the order block using exactly the same method, guys. That's one thing you'll get from me is full transparency, and you will also get a repeat of my trading style. There is no deviation. Perhaps there'll be a deviation in the way I manage depending on how I feel on the day, but pretty much more often than not, you're going to see identical trading positions across all analysis and breakdowns. Again, what was I aiming for? Asia lows. Of course, it didn't get there, but you understand where I'm coming from. Had all the confidence to take this position as well. Again, Asia's available. Price was respecting that 4-hour 50 MA. Price had previously closed below the daily 50 MA, looking for rejection. What does that remind you of? If not US dollar CAD, it would be the DXY. Rejecting of the daily 50 EMA, expecting a rollover short once retesting that EMA. So again, I can't beat myself up too much. Nevertheless, I am transparent with the way I trade. You will see that. So yeah, a position. Could it have been avoided? I mean, I should be happy. Very rarely will I have two positions on at once. I make every effort to ensure when I am taking a position, it's the position that I want to take, right? It's not the position that I'm forced to take. Now, on reflection, on analysis, I'm in US dollar CAD. I hadn't quite taken profits, to be quite honest, and I'll be fair to say my thought process around this point was, okay, if I'm rejecting now US dollar CAD, if US dollar CAD for whatever reason, whatever fundamental comes out, whatever tweet is tweeted, if US dollar CAD doesn't hit me take profit now and it flies back up, it's going to be quite an annoying day, to say the least. Therefore, what I thought to do, me being honest, is let me set the short position on GU. If US dollar CAD completely flies away from take profit, leaves me with nothing, at least I'll get break even in GU. So that was my thought process. Maybe a little bit too clever for my own good, who knows? But nevertheless, it's a loss on GU, not a full loss. I'll be fair to say it wasn't a full loss, but it's a loss nevertheless, which on reflection, I'm sure I'll say I shouldn't have taken that. But what we should be happy for was good analysis, good take profit on US dollar CAD, good use of the DXY, understanding the phases in the market on the DXY, where we are, when to expect the rollover short, and look at the DXY still continuing to roll down to the downside. And it's not to say that the DXY is actually going to start creating new lows now. It's about using the intraday perspective alongside the higher time frame bias to understand the phases of play within that higher time frame. So it is a skill that can be taught. It's certainly a skill that can be learned and applied onto the charts. And as I always say, if you do wish to learn more, FRGNT4x.com. Feel absolutely free to join FRGNT Mastery, where I go through all of this continuously until you are bored of hearing it, but until it sticks, right? Until you can understand these concepts regarding the EMAs, regarding points of interest, regarding using that DXY as a free confluence. Many people fail to use it, not understanding that it's tradable. I've traded the DXY using exactly the same method. It's proven. You can see it here. Break, pull back, imbalance short. Simple. Where are we looking to take that down to? These lows, right? It's simple. It's simple process. So once applied, you will feel the benefits of being profitable, in my opinion, if applied correctly over a period of time. There's absolutely no question that you too can be profitable. So as I said, that cleans up my initial thought process this week of targeting 10% That's certainly over 10% now. And we'll just continue trading for the rest of the week, to be quite honest, managing risk as I always do and seeing how we can end out the week. So thanks very much for listening. Thank you very much for your time, patience, and support across the channels. And once again, FRGNTforex.com if you wish to find out more. Join in Fairground Mastery. And one thing to add, there is a 7-day free trial. So if you did want to join in, see what Fairground Mastery is all about, it is a paid subscription. But as I said, 7-day free trial. Join in the Zoom sessions. Calendar's coming out, or the calendar is already out for March. So feel free to join for those 7 days, 7 free calls. When you love it, I'm sure you'll subscribe. If you hate it, well, I'll say it's a you problem, not me. All the very best, everyone. Take care, and good luck in your training journey. Take care. Ciao.